Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Becky and this is Brea Makes Art, and today we are going to continue working on my most ambitious painting ever. So last week I talked about working on this realistic painting of water and how my first attempt at it just kind of fell through and I kind of scrapped it and started over. Just to talk a little bit more about the painting itself and what makes it kind of my most ambitious project yet. Number one is the size. This is an 11 by 14 gesso board. That's not enormous, but it's larger than I typically work. I'm typically working more of like a 8.5 by 11, 9 by 12, something like that. This is quite a bit bigger. So last week I talked a lot about some of the steps that I was going to implement in order to try and make this painting more successful, and I have worked on implementing those steps for sure in this painting, and it definitely made it a lot less intimidating for me to come back to it after having failed at my first attempt. I don't think I'm going to be able to finish it in this video, unfortunately, partially because it is kind of a lot more realistic than I'm used to working, so it's taking me longer to do, but also partially because I haven't dedicated enough time to it, and that's on me. So my first step after kind of restarting and just putting my mid-tone on was to go in and map out where my shadow colors were going to go. So I did that. I just took the panel upstairs with me, and like while I was watching TV, I was mapping that out with an acrylic marker and just kind of drew out where I was going to put all of my shadow colors. I mixed up a shadow color and you basically just used that across the whole thing. It wasn't as dark as it could possibly go because I knew that I wanted to have a variety of some of the shadow colors being darker and some being a little bit lighter. So I went darker than the mid-tone, but not so dark that I couldn't go even darker for some of my dark darks. After I got the shadow colors in, then I went in and mapped in some of the lighter areas with a color that was lighter than the background, but not the lightest light. And my thought was that I was just going to kind of bop back and forth between the two and do kind of the full canvas, the full canvas, the full canvas each time. But that got kind of, I don't know, tedious, overwhelming. I'm not sure which. I kind of got bored with it. Let's put it that way. I got bored with doing the whole thing. So I decided to basically work on just a section at a time. So I've been working on the bottom, I don't know, third or so of the panel and putting in some more shadow colors and putting in some variations in the shadows and putting in some more of the highlights and kind of just working back and forth trying to get the bottom section looking the way I want it to look. I have been having some issues with getting my paint colors mixed the way that I want them to. I think partially it is I don't know how much paint to mix up at a time, and so I'm having to remix colors over and over again, and I'm not necessarily getting it mixed exactly the same because I'm just not that used to working with acrylics, and I don't paint enough just in general to have a good feel for how much paint I actually need and how far this paint is actually going to go on the board. I know that the first layer of paint that I put on this gesso board, it didn't go as far as I thought it would, and then subsequent layers have gone further than I thought it would. So I think that part of that is just because when I was first putting a layer down, I needed to cover the whole thing, and I thought it would just go a lot farther. And now I'm working in much smaller sections, so it's going farther because I'm working in such small sections at a time. And I'm also watering it down a little bit to get a little bit more variation in that way so that I can kind of glaze some colors on a little bit. I don't have any of the medium that kind of thins out your paint kind of more appropriately. I know that you can use water to thin out acrylic, but only to a certain extent. I wish I had some of the thinning medium. I just don't happen to have any right now, and I don't have any really good art stores local that I can go get some. Maybe I could find some at Michael's. I'm not sure yet. Some of the things that I have learned in doing this is that I I really need to work on being able to mix up more subtle kind of steps in value, because some of the spots where I have put kind of a little bit of the highlight color and I was trying to just go a little bit above the mid-tone, it's a little brighter than what I really wanted it to be. And then when I've been trying to mix shadow colors, it's not quite as dark as I want it to be. So like really being able to judge what I'm mixing up compared to what's already like on my board is a little bit hard for me right now. And I realize that's probably just something that is going to get better with time and with practice. I think another thing that I am doing that's causing me some dissatisfaction with the painting is knowing how much water it's okay to put into the paint, because I think there are some spots where I've thinned it out too much and it's just looking a little streaky, and that's making me very sad because it just doesn't look as smooth and nice as I want it to. And I think that's just because I'm watering the paint down a little bit too much and putting a little bit too thin of layers on, so I'm seeing a lot of streakiness in some spots. So again, this is all kind of learning process. I don't work with acrylic enough to really have a good feel for that, how much I can actually put in before it starts to break. It would work a lot better if I had some acrylic thinning medium. Like I said earlier, I don't happen to have any of that. I might end up trying to make my way up to Michael's, because that's the art store that I have local to me, to see if I can get some of that, because I think that would make this work a little bit better. But overall, it's coming along pretty well. Is it going to be as realistic as I hoped it would be? No, probably not. But I knew that I was really stretching myself to try and do a really realistic painting here anyway. I think it's going to turn out in a way that I'm going to like it, but it's not going to be quite what I was hoping for in my mind. I think that's something that's really important to kind of recognize about yourself and accept, is that sometimes we have these ideas in our head about like what we want our painting or drawing or whatever to look like, and sometimes we're just not going to be able to get it to the place that we want it to be, either because we are not willing to put the amount of time into it that is needed to get it there, or our skills just aren't quite there yet. And just being able to accept that and know that you did your best, I think, is something that I think we all have to work at. I know that like I have definitely made things in the past that I was very disappointed in, because it just didn't turn out the way I really wanted it to in my head, and I was like, oh my gosh, I am terrible at this, and that kind of imposter syndrome just really like creeps in and just makes you feel really bad about yourself. But I think that we all need to recognize that just because a project didn't turn out exactly the way you wanted it to, it doesn't mean that you're bad at this. It just means that you have a little bit more learning to do, and that is okay. It's all good. Just kind of recognize that, accept it. Quite often our ability to see the problems in our work happens before our ability to fix it. And so that's part of why artists are often so much more critical of their own work than other people are, is because we can see the problems. Part of it is because we're just too close to the thing that we're working on, and so we see all of the little mistakes that we made, all the little things that we wanted to be just a little bit different. But also part of it is because our ability to kind of see problems or see little variations or whatever is better than our ability to actually commit, actually do the thing. I think it's really important for us to be really kind to ourselves when we do try to do something that we know that we're stretching ourselves with, and just realize that we are doing something that is a little bit harder than, you know, what we could comfortably do, and know that there are going to be things that we are going to do in that piece that aren't going to be quite up to the standard that we have set in our minds. And just know that it's okay, that we are still learning, and that having done the thing is a learning experience, and that's all great. And the next time we do it, we'll probably just be a little bit better, and we'll just continue to like creep up our skills as we continue to kind of push ourselves. But I think it's also important to make sure that you're not constantly pushing yourself kind of beyond your comfort zone, because that could lead to burnout, where like nothing that you do turns out the way that you wanted it to, and then you just kind of end up feeling really down on yourself and not wanting to actually create. So it is kind of a bit of a balance there to try and maintain, to figure out like, how far can I push myself? How often can I push myself before I start to feel really bad about myself? It's a constant balancing act to figure out like, where do I want to go? Because if you're constantly keeping yourself like in your comfort zone, then your ability will progress, but it will progress pretty slowly, because you're not really trying anything new. So you're just going to kind of stay pretty stagnant. But if you push yourself occasionally kind of outside of your comfort zone, then you're going to see a little bit more growth, because you're going to see some things that you didn't know you couldn't do, or see some things that you didn't know you could do, and be able to kind of troubleshoot and figure out like, what am I doing that I really like here? What am I doing that I don't like? How can I adjust and how can I improve? And so kind of pushing yourself like beyond what you think you're capable of every now and then is fantastic. But like I said, it's a balancing act. It's a very delicate balancing act to make sure that you're not pushing yourself way too far beyond and making yourself feel terrible about yourself, or not pushing yourself beyond like all the time and make you feel terrible about yourself. One of the things that I've been doing with this painting is I'm not spending large kind of chunks of time on it. I'm coming down and working on it for 30 minutes at a time, kind of a thing, because one, because it's a little bit overwhelming because it's kind of a big like ask for me, but two, because it is so overwhelming, I don't want to like get into it and really just kind of give up, and I don't want to get so close to it that I see all of the mistakes and like see them all of the time and get frustrated and that sort of thing. I think that taking time to step back and then come back to it, it really allows me to come back at it with really fresh eyes and be able to see which mistakes I want to try and address, which ones are still kind of popping out to me. So I'm hoping that that will give me a better end product. It does mean that like overall it's going to take me longer calendar time to finish. Whether it takes me longer actual work time to finish, I don't know. But it is going to take me longer calendar time to finish, because I'm working on it for 30 minutes and then I go away and do some other like household stuff for a few hours, and then come back down and work on it for 30 minutes and then go off and do something else. And so it's been in these kind of like 30-minute-ish chunks that I've worked on it. I've made some really good progress doing that, but it does mean that it's going to take me a while to finish. And unfortunately, that means that for this video, I will not have a finished painting for you, but I can definitely show you how far I've gotten. Okay, so let me go ahead and reveal how far I've gotten so far. As a reminder, this is the size of the canvas, is 11 by 14, and this is how far I have made it. So you can see that down here it is looking much more finished. In this middle section here, I have put in my shadow shapes and my just kind of basic highlight shapes, and then up here I did start working on some of the really high highlights, because I just felt like doing something a little bit different, just to kind of give me a little bit of variety, because I was getting a little bit bored of working down here. So let me just go ahead and give you a little bit closer up Oh, that's looking really good on camera. There's a lot of little things that I see when I look at it that are kind of bothering me. But you can see this middle section here is looking pretty flat because I just have some dark shapes and some kind of lighter shapes in. But then this sparkly bits on the top, I'm absolutely loving this. This is looking really cool. I'm super happy with that. And I think that when this is done, I'm going to be really happy with it, especially if I'm looking at it from kind of a normal viewing distance. If I'm like kind of up close to it, I'm going to see all the mistakes. But overall, I think it's looking pretty good. There's still a lot of work to do. There's still a little bit more kind of variation in some of the colors down here that I need to do. Like I said, this whole section here needs work, and I've only just started putting in some of the brightest brights up here, and yeah, this is where it is so far. I think that it's looking pretty good, and I'm just going to keep working on this, and I will give you updates as I continue to make progress on it. I haven't decided if next week is going to be kind of more working on this or like what the plan is for next week. I do know that coming up pretty soon I should have a sketchbook tour because I'm about done with my last sketchbook. So there'll be a sketchbook tour coming. There's going to be starting a new sketchbook video coming, as well as likely an art haul video, so stay tuned. And anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you again next week. Bye.